lot of times, especially when we give this presentation, it helps resellers and collectors look at art in a different way. What makes this a killer painting, it has a lot of different things going for it, right? So you've got, not only is it a mid-century modern abstract painting, you can kind of see elements of cubism in the painting. Do you guys see it? I don't know if you, a lot of people sometimes may not be versed in some of the art styles of the mid-century, but you can see some aspects of cubism here, in addition to the portraiture. So what's great and what makes this lucky for us is that the artist actually not only signed his last name, but also dated it. So you've hit the jackpot, and nothing is more frustrating than buying a work of art and not being able to see the artist's signature. That drives me crazy, because what that means is that if I see hints of it, I might have to cut the painting out of the frame and wreck the dust cover. That's the cover in the back of the frame is to protect the canvas from dust. You might have to cut that out and then remove the piece from the frame, which is always tricky because older paintings, the oil will adhere to the frame. There's always a general rule of thumb that an oil painting takes at least 1 year to cure and solidify. Not a lot of people know that. And lucky enough that you'll be finding pieces that have some date on them, but if it's been framed right away, if you pull that canvas away from the frame, then you just damage that whole area. So we're lucky to find a painting that has a very clear and legible signature of the artist. It's dated, and I've got some research here that we did, and I want to share it with you because there's a nice backstory behind this piece. Let me see. Okay, so this piece is signed by an artist named James Vallone, and he was an abstract modernist, and he specialized in geometric composition, particularly in red and orange colors, and he has started to get a following just recently. His works are starting to come on the market. So this one was painted in '53. And so we've got a rather lovely frame that goes along with it. But what really tripped my trigger was the back of the painting. So you'll see how the canvas was stretched on a regular frame that you would have purchased anywhere. But this piece in particular was deaccessioned from the Beaumont Art Museum. And it was originally gifted to the museum the title of the work is called The Diary, dated 1953, oil on canvas. It was a gift from Mrs. W.H. Hoffman for an event. It was donated to the museum, which had it on display, and then when the museum a lot of museums will either cull their collections over the years and then offer paintings up from everything from charity auctions, which are a phenomenal place to get a great deal on original, well-known artists. So I really strongly encourage you to, if you have a museum in your area, check in with them and say if they're going to be offering some sort of a sale or charity auction, do your best to kind of wiggle your way in there, tell them that you're a Vanderbilt. You're descended from a Vanderbilt and you really want to get inside and get a chance to look at it. So what's another nice part of this painting, which gives it more provenance. You guys know what provenance is, right? Does anybody? Okay, so provenance is really important in, pretty much any sort of antiques and collectibles, particularly in fine art. And that means that it has a history, a documented history that goes along with the work of art. So you've got a paper trail or some sort of trail that shows the history of the work from the creation all the way to the present. And with that provenance, you can establish value. So if this painting had been owned by Elvis Presley, the price would shoot through the roof. This painting happened to be owned by Mrs. Hoffman. I think it's hysterical that they refer to her as Mrs. W.H. Hoffman, so it's the time to change. But so the museum had a brass plaque created, and it documented that it was owned by the Beaumont Art Museum. It was on exhibit, the third annual exhibit in 1954. It was a purchase award, and it was purchased and then presented to the museum by Mrs. Hoffman. So you have a fantastic painting by a gradually well-known artist that's signed, has provenance, and it's a decent frame. It's not that bad. It's still a modernist. It's more of an inlay, and because it's relatively new in the grand scheme of fine art, I wasn't able to find a lot of detail on where he was active. It just said that he was an American active between 1923 and 2009 when he passed away. So when mid-century pieces like this come on the market, we're starting to see his work increase in value. And a piece sold about 2 years ago for about $450 at auction. And then one of his portraitures landed $2,000 about a year ago at auction at I think it was a Palm Beach auction. Some of his work had found its way to Palm Beach. So this was a donation to the local Salvation Army. So they're possibly looking at $1,000 or more, maybe even with a little bit of promotion to some locals. It's a really amazing donation and a great find.